I ask that, through the Spirit and with the power that comes from His glorious riches, He may strengthen you in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that, rooted and grounded in love. Ephesians 3 verse 16-17. At times, we overlook the supernatural treasure residing within our inner selves. We pass over the riches that God has deposited in our hearts, carrying a world more perfect, excellent, and beautiful than the external world. Within us, there is a special world filled with important things. In this inner world, we find the grace that makes us like God, the theological virtues that connect us closely to divinity, the moral virtues that organize and guide our lives, and the gifts of the Holy Spirit that enable us to communicate with Him and receive His divine inspirations. It is essential to recognize that not all souls develop the gifts and virtues to the same degree and with the same perfection. Just as plants require care and attention, our effort involves diligently cultivating these precious seeds that God has planted in our soul. Just as plants have favorable seasons for their growth, each gift of the Holy Spirit finds its suitable time in the spiritual life to reach its full development. Although each gift has its opportune moment, it is fundamental to understand that all of them are present in our soul at all times. Our responsibility is to continually work on their development and maturation. This process is an essential part of our spiritual journey, where, like the gardener caring for their garden with dedication, we cultivate the divine gifts that enrich our inner life. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. Isaiah 11 verse 2. But how do the gifts of the Holy Spirit develop in us? What can and should we do? The first key to developing the gifts of the Holy Spirit is to cultivate charity in our hearts, as the very root of these gifts is love. When we love, even in earthly love, we develop intuitions that allow us to understand the thoughts and desires of the loved one in a way that goes beyond what science can explain. Isn't it evident in mothers, for example, how they seem to guess the needs and desires of their young children? An experienced person might not understand what a child wants, but the mother does. In this case, it is not intelligence that reveals this mystery but the heart. Even human love, with its imperfections, shows us mysterious intuitions. Those who love can see, hear, glimpse, and guess. Now, if this phenomenon is possible in earthly love, can you imagine how much deeper and special these types of intuitions would be when we experience supernatural love, also known as charity, which the Holy Spirit pours into our hearts? It is like moving from understanding the thoughts of those we love to having even more significant and special experiences by connecting with the divine love offered by the Holy Spirit. In the second step, we focus on the development of virtues in our lives. Virtues are comparable to tools that we have at our disposal to strengthen and perfect our abilities and behaviors. By receiving these virtues through the grace of God, we create a solid foundation that facilitates the delicate and refined intervention of the Holy Spirit. You can think of virtues as instruments that help us shape our behavior and improve as individuals. They are like brushes that an artist uses to create a masterpiece. By cultivating these virtues, we are preparing the canvas of our life for the divine action of the Holy Spirit. Just as an artist intervenes when the surface and materials are ready, the Holy Spirit perfects our spiritual work when we have cultivated and developed virtues in our lives. It is a harmonious collaboration between our conscious effort and the divine action, where virtues serve as the means that allow the spiritual work to be refined and beautified by the intervention of the Holy Spirit. The third key to developing the gifts of the Holy Spirit is to be receptive to divine inspirations. Being docile involves paying loving and constant attention to the mysterious voice of the Holy Spirit. When our heart is willing and receptive, we can listen better and receive the holy inspirations of the Spirit more perfectly. Imagine the Holy Spirit as an inner guide whispering wisdom and direction in your heart. Being docile to these inspirations involves being attentive, receptive, and responding with sensitivity to that divine voice. The more receptive we are to these inspirations, the more they will be perfected in us, the mysterious receivers, which are the gifts of the Holy Spirit. These practical lessons urge us to be aware and receptive to the presence and guidance of the Holy Spirit in our lives. We all possess these gifts, but their development depends on our willingness to listen and follow those divine inspirations. It is a reminder not to overlook the wonders that the Holy Spirit has to offer and to take advantage of the precious instruments that we already carry in our souls. And there shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord shall rest upon him. Isaiah 11 verse 1-2. Imagine a complex factory with many machines and departments organized in an admirable way. The director of this factory wishes to be in contact with each department and workshop whenever he desires. To achieve this, he installs phones or radio receivers at key points in the factory. Thus, he can communicate, direct, and coordinate everything from his office. Similarly, the Holy Spirit, who dwells in us when we have the grace of God, acts as a wise director in our spiritual life. He establishes receivers in different parts of our being, and these receivers are the gifts of the Holy Spirit. Through these gifts, the Holy Spirit communicates with us and influences each of our capacities. In summary, let's observe our most prominent human capabilities. The first of them is the noblest and highest, known as understanding. Thanks to the gift of understanding, we can delve into divine truths. Additionally, to discern these truths, we have three specific gifts: wisdom, which evaluates divine matters; science, which examines creatures; and counsel, which guides and organizes our actions. In short, these gifts provide us with tools to understand the divine and make wise decisions in our daily lives. Let's talk about the will, which is like the next step in nobility after our intelligence. At this level, we encounter the gift of piety. Imagine that this gift acts as a regulator and harmonizer in our relationships with others. Its function is to help us be considerate, compassionate, and respectful in our interactions. Furthermore, to handle that more instinctive part of ourselves, we have two additional gifts. First, there is fortitude, which gives us the ability to overcome fear when facing dangerous or challenging situations. Then, we find the fear of God, which acts as a moderator, helping us control and balance our impulses so that they do not lead us down disorderly paths. From the summit of our spirit to the lowest parts of our being, the Holy Spirit uses these gifts as a means to communicate with our inner world. In this way, He inspires and guides each of our human actions. These gifts of the Holy Spirit form a complete connection with our soul, and among them, there are close relationships. The prophet Isaiah presents them in pairs: spirit of wisdom and understanding, spirit of counsel and might, spirit of knowledge and piety, spirit of fear of God. Each pair has a close union, where the first directs the second. Wisdom directs understanding, counsel to fortitude, science to piety, and wisdom also directly directs the fear of God, being like the general director of all the gifts. In terms of their importance and excellence, we could order them like this: wisdom as the most perfect, followed by understanding, science, counsel, piety, and fortitude, with the gift of fear of God being the least elevated. Imagine this inner world in your soul. Through the gifts, the Holy Spirit has possession of every corner of your being and all our capacities. The Holy Spirit represents the deepest essence of our being and gives life to our existence. At times, we neglect this inner world by immersing ourselves in earthly concerns. It is necessary to fully understand the divine riches that we harbor within us. Within our soul are supernatural treasures, divine riches waiting to be discovered and used to enrich our everyday lives. Join me in the next video to delve into a detailed analysis of each of these gifts that the Holy Spirit pours into our souls. This way, we can better understand how each divine tool contributes to enriching our spiritual life and strengthening our connection with the divine.